What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 11 of the Smokin' Weed and Talkin' MMA podcast. My name is Jarrod. I'm here with my co-host, Paul.
What up?
We are smoking on some fine Las Vegas cannabis today. Paul just took a hit of some cherry Kush, which is grown by Nature's Chemistry. I almost forgot who grew this fine weed. Nature's Chemistry is turning into one of my favorite growers out here, Paul. Their stuff is always on point, at least in my experiences so far. We also got some Sunny D, which is grown by Verano. That's a sativa. The Cherry Kush is a hybrid. We got some fine Quest OG shatter for this beautiful dab rig. If you're looking, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see this rig on camera right now. That's pretty dope, isn't it? It's a nice piece Paul's brought over today. Yep. And we are coming off a night of some killer fights from UFC 228.
Some great finishes.
Absolutely, man. That was a really top to bottom good card.
It's a really entertaining card. There was literally only one boring fight in my opinion.
What was your favorite fight last night, or your few favorite fights or fighters?
See, I'd like to go fighters. There were some good mid-level card fights. Abdul Hassan, who knocked out Nico Price, who was fucking looking like a world beater one fight ago when he knocked out Randy Brown from the bottom, and then he comes out and gets starched.
Well, they just stood there and traded leather like a couple bar brawlers. Definitely. I don't think that was too good of an idea, obviously, against Al Hassan. Yeah,
who's got fucking hands, obviously. Shit. Another one you can't forget about last night was Aljamain Sterling, who is really starting to put things back together.
That looked like his best.
That was rough finish for Standman, though. Oh, my God.
Yeah, you see that type of thing go down, you feel kind of bad for a fight.
Blew his shit out. He's done for a minute now.
Hopefully, it's not a long-term injury. I don't think we've heard anything yet.
I'd hate to say it, but there's really no way it's not going to be.
No, that was
ooh, he blew it out. He was screaming in pain when he fucking tapped, so.
Really good move by AJ. I mean, we hate the injury, but what a absolutely beautiful submission.
That's two in one night. That never happened in the UFC before, and then it happens twice in one night.
Twice in one night. Neither guy gets a bonus from the UFC, which I thought was a bit of an oversight on their part, too.
A little bit. But
what else did you like?
So, and then Jeff Neal, Frank Camacho, that was a fucking, a terrific, striking performance by Jeff Neal in a weight class that... There's so much fucking talent at 185, man.
Absolutely,
it's crazy. So much
in the lower levels, maybe not so much. The top is a little bit of a mess.
The thing with Jeff Neal though is his strikes were just so crisp. He was hitting with everything he threw. It got so crazy. One time, he hit Camacho with just a fucking heater of a combo.
Oh, yeah.
And Camacho's crazy ass just starts smacking his own face. He's like, let's do it. And Neal's like, what the fuck?
You gotta love a guy like Camacho.
Camacho's a beast.
That's a fighter I always like to tune in and see. Maybe it's not the highest level of martial arts.
I was going to say, sometimes it turns into a little bit of a fucking, just a crazy person out there. But at the same time... He's a warrior.
It's all right to have a mix of that in your MMA.
Yeah,
it can't all be technical precision and beautiful.
And honestly, it wasn't like Camacho was taking a lot of risks. It was just Neal was so crisp that he was hitting him with everything. But later in the fight is when Camacho got wild, and that's really was his undoing. But you got to give it to Jeff Neal for freaking putting it on him. And then I thought should have got. I didn't see the first undercard fight, which ended up getting fight of the night.
I missed that one too.
But Darren Stewart, Charles Bird should have got fight of the night in my opinion. I really
like that fight too. A lot of heart from both fighters. Bird was lighting him up, man.
Comes out there and just starts whooping Darren Stewart's ass the first round. Was really just giving it to him. Then second round, same thing. Started out just whooping his ass, and then Darren Stewart, slowly but surely caught his rhythm. Hits Bird with 4 crazy fucking tough, real nice placed elbows.
Yeah, those were
gorgeous. Put him out.
Powerful.
Stewart was great, man. I mean,
he really did.
And the thing is, people don't realize is Darren Stewart, although that he was getting beat up in the first round, they weren't talking about. Bird was trying to get him down on multiple occasions, and Stewart's takedown defense was top notch. You know,
it was nice.
It was real nice, and then ends up getting the KO in the end. I mean, you can't really fault Bird though, because it's not that Bird did anything wrong. Stewart's got a hell of a chin, because he was hitting Stewart with fucking bombs, bro.
Oh, he was
bombs.
Stewart's got a great chin. I think both those guys got a bright future in the UFC. I really thought that was an exciting fight too.
That was a good fight for sure.
Absolutely. Well, aside for me, it's more of a fighter than the fight itself. The fight was kind of disappointing. The Jimmy Rivera, John Dobson fight.
See, I didn't really like that fight.
I didn't like Dobson in that fight. I thought Dobson fought with a pretty terrible game plan. But what I really liked was a specific thing about Jimmy Rivera. Coming from a boxing background, I'm always kind of... You don't see a lot of good movement in MMA. You don't see a lot of good head movement, feints, and Jimmy Rivera was doing all that. His head movement was spectacular. His feints were great. He was doing shoulder rolls. Yeah. He was keeping his head offline very well, and he continued to do that throughout the fight. Even the few times he got tagged, it didn't take him off of that, and that's what I really liked seeing in that fight.
My only critique is that he was fighting Dobson's fight, though.
Yeah, he didn't fight a perfect fight, but that one aspect of that for me, because you just don't see that.
I think it was Dobson's fight though, because Dobson was controlling the pace. He was a lot. What he's done really I don't understand it. Alistair Overeem fights like this now too, but this whole reset, restart, run away, then try to catch him, run away, try to catch him.
It's a Jackson Wink thing. Isn't it?
Very strange.
Alistair went down there and he picked that up.
And then he started losing. Dobson, same thing. Now he's losing. How many fucking fights has Dobson lost now?
A lot, and he's really talented.
He was undefeated in the UFC. The only 2 losses he had were against DJ. And then now he's lost, I want to say, 4 of his last 5.
And he fights, I hate the term scared fighter, but he fights like a guy who's being very careful not to get knocked out. Which
no, it's not even that. It's not even that.
He didn't want to engage. He didn't want to let loose combinations.
Now, here's the thing: is he's one of those guys, and he's always been that guy. Kind of like what Tyron Woodley does, but he's just not as good at it. Where he tries to lure people in, then hit the big strikes and finish them quick. But when he can't get that done, it turns into him just resetting, trying to get those big strikes, but they're just not there anymore.
That's not working for him, so I didn't like that. But
although
like Jimmy
he is
Rivera.
Fast as fuck, man.
He's fast, but Rivera matched him in speed too. Rivera's all those guys. When you're getting down to that weight class, 135, 125, these guys are. There's not exactly a slow one.
Rivera's in a strange spot now, though. Like, who does he necessarily fight next?
I think he's got to wait a minute to see what plays out. I mean, I don't think Aljo's going to get the Dominic Cruz fight.
Okay, so
Rivera has already been there.
He's one loss. So he's like 3-3 in his last fights. 6 fights. That's fucking tough
for Dobson.
Yeah. Fuck, man. Going from 2 losses to 5 losses is a big fucking deal.
He needs to switch something up because it's not working, and he's loaded with talent, and he's got power. I mean, he was knocking fools out back on Tough. I mean, he knocked out TJ Dillashaw for goodness sakes. And now look where TJ's at, and look where he's at. You know, TJ's progressed way further, and Dobson just seems to have taken a bit of a step back.
Well, you know what it is? The thing is that he came down to this weight class with that mindset that he had already beat TJ, so it wasn't going to be as tough as what I think.
That could be.
Because it was like, he was like, oh, I've already beat their champion. I'm just going to come in there, beat a couple guys, then fight TJ for the title. That was really his plan. Remember going in, that's what he was saying in the media and stuff. He was like, yeah, I already beat TJ, so I'm just going to go down there, win a couple good fights, and hopefully get a title shot. But then didn't he lose his first? No, he won his first one, lost his next 2, I think. Yeah. It's like, come on, dude.
Well, after that, another one where I enjoyed the fight, but I actually found myself liking the losing fighter, was the Z.A.T and Brendan Davis fight. Like, I mean, I expected Z.A.T to come out and win. I mean, who didn't? But I thought Brendan Davis really. I mean, he's a good fighter. Yeah, like, he hung in there. He was game for sure. He was game.
Yeah.
I think he's got a decent future.
It's tough.
I'm not
to
saying
really,
he's future champ, but I'm saying he's definitely a young prospect that the UFC should keep around.
It's tough to grade him because we don't really know what Z.B. is yet.
No, we know he's wild.
I was telling you this on Saturday too. Kind of the same thing with Sugar Sean O'Malley. It's the same thing. Like where both those guys, everyone knows their potential, but they just don't necessarily have anyone on their resume yet that really is going to be like, oh wow, they're really up there with the top guys in the division. Because, like, come on, dude. Honestly, I get it that you don't want to bring these guys along too quick, but at the same, I know this was like a last minute. It was a big fight at the beginning. I get that. This is not what I'm talking about. But like same thing with like O'Malley, where it's like, yeah, Zabit's legit. You know, he's a legit fighter, and he should beat a guy like that easily. And same thing with O'Malley. If he doesn't come out and beat Keonis or whoever the fuck he's fighting next, if he doesn't beat him like really decisively, you gotta think like how good are these guys?
Yeah.
Because honestly, we don't know what's gonna happen. These are the next stars of, you know, Zabit is one of the next stars of the UFC. Like, honestly, Max Holloway's kind of on his way out of the featherweight division. They need a star.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you know, Ortega's there, but he's also another one that he's on the big side too. So it's like the featherweight division is in a crossroads where Max is either going to continue to be champion or lose and move up.
Yeah, I can't imagine if he does lose that he'd stick around at 45.
Dude, he's having a tough time making it there. And honestly, he's got a good fucking chance at 55 to make some serious noise.
Well, he's 5'11", and he's still young.
Yeah.
I mean, he can certainly fill out his frame.
He's a lot thicker than he was earlier in his career, too.
Yeah, and it's going to happen as he gets older.
Yeah.
And I mean, with that size, I mean...
Dude, look how big he was on fucking Embedded when he was trying to make fucking 55 for that Khabib fight where Conor threw the dolly.
Right.
Dude, he was big. He was probably like 185 starting the cut.
I wouldn't be surprised because he wasn't in camp.
No.
Or if he had started camp, it was very early.
Didn't he break his arm or his wrist or something?
Yeah, he was coming off
something
injury.
like that.
Yeah.
Or was it his leg? Something like that. But yeah, he was coming off an injury, so like you got to think how much was he training before that as well. That's what I like about Holloway though. That was a good. He just fucking steps in like that.
He does. He's no fear.
But yeah, Conor, back to these like younger dudes though. They all you gotta like. It's tough to measure how much that win means for Zabit at this point.
Yeah.
Like who does he really have next? You know, it's like you gotta probably give him somebody who in the lower
10 to 15 rankings or 11 to 15 rankings. But then a lot of those guys don't want to fight somebody like Zabit.
Well, you gotta think of it this way. He's not going to fight Barboza because he trains with him.
Right.
I want to see him fight some... I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see what the UFC does with him.
Yeah, because everyone is kind of tied up in that division as well. Like, there's a lot of fights that still need to happen.
Well, let's move on. We got some exciting fights on that main card. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, let's jump right into the main event. Why not? Like... We both picked Till.
See, people are saying Till was super tentative, but I like to think back to where Till comes from. You know, he's from Muay Thai. Yeah. In Muay Thai, you don't fight in the first round. You feel each other out, and you go from there.
Don't they even stage their betting lines?
Yeah,
on the
their betting lines end at the after the first round. Yeah,
so that is a legit thing. Yeah.
It happens, and then also. You gotta think it was a 5-round fight. He wanted to feel out how Tyron would like fight. You know what I mean? And I thought in that first round he showed real good poise.
I thought he did too.
He showed good poise.
I mean, Woodley won the round, but I thought it was like okay, cool.
But it was like one of those rounds where you were like, yeah, you know what? That was a solid start. You know, because Woodley really fucking if. He's lucky that he got. I don't want to say he's lucky because he really beat his ass. But
he won convincingly.
But if Till could have weathered that, I just wanted to know what would have happened if Till weathered the rest of that round. How much energy would Tyron Woodley have had going into the third?
Do you think this weight cut affected Till in ways that we're not aware of?
It could have. And honestly,
he made weight clear
in
to
my
169.
in my opinion, he needs to go up to 85 now. I don't think he has very much more work to do at 70.
What's he gonna do? Try to get a rematch? I mean,
And if he goes to
didn't beat
85,
the way he
if
was,
he goes to 85 healthy, he will be a big fucking dude. Like if he gets in the gym and naturally moves up to 85 instead of, because now he sucks himself down super skinny. He's got a big frame. So imagine he puts some muscle on.
Frame, yeah.
He puts some muscle on and goes up to 85. I'd love to see him against Adesanya or even fucking fuck, man, the Brazilian dude who was supposed to fight Yoel. What the fuck's his name? You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know, but at 185.
You know what I'm talking about? The dude.
I know who you're talking about, but I'm high, and I wasn't expecting you to bring him up, so I don't remember offhand.
Whatever. But that would be a great fight for him as well.
Yeah.
Or even Whitaker, dude. Imagine
Paul Acosta.
Paulo Costa, yeah.
Yeah, Costa. Yeah.
Yeah,
I can picture him in my head, but his
Paulo
name...
Costa, Darren Till would be a great fucking
that'd
fight
be a
because
great
both
fight.
those guys have hammers for
God,
hands.
that fight actually gets me excited thinking about it. I hadn't even thought of that.
You know what I was
matchup.
dreaming of? I wanted to talk about this. This doesn't matter anymore because Till lost. But imagine if this Conor fight wasn't like the ultimate like Europe event. I was thinking would be like Khabib Conor, like Darren Till, Robert Whitaker would be like the ultimate. They could have done that. Conor could have got his own event in a stadium if they did that card.
That'd be pretty sick right there.
Even if they do that, Conor versus whoever he fights next, and then Darren Till moves up and fights Whitaker. That would, if you put that anywhere in Europe, it's fucking selling.
That would be a big deal. Well, I think Till is still obviously got a great future. I agree.
I think he honestly could end up going to 85 and getting a title shot in like 2 fights from now. 3
We've
fights
talked about it before on this podcast about these fighters.
If he fights the right people, obviously.
I mean, look at Jason Krause just a few weeks ago. It happened to him too. You move up when you're big in these smaller classes, and then you're moving up. We're seeing a lot of success from these fighters that are not depleting their bodies so much.
Yep.
And that could be the same for Till.
I mean, honestly, Diego Sanchez does not belong in 170, but he looked fucking great this weekend as well.
Surprising. I didn't pick him either.
He's got what, 2 wins in a row now, 170?
Yeah, he does. Surprising. Good old Diego.
Don't fucking kiss that motherfucker, dude.
Apparently that's a terrible idea because that gave him some serious motivation. Well, but hey, let's not
Well,
just focus
don't be
on
going
the
around
loser.
kissing any motherfuckers that
Well,
way.
seriously, you shouldn't be kissing anybody at the weigh-in.
God damn.
That was
I'd smack
crazy.
the shit out of somebody if they did that
That would
shit.
take some serious self-discipline. I
Yeah,
guess if you know
fuck.
you're going to fight the guy in a cage the next night and blow it
Well,
if you hit him.
of course you got Dana in front of you.
You got
yeah,
Dana.
yeah, motherfucker.
But let's talk about Tyron Woodley, man. That was, what can you say? Perfect
It was a
fight.
great performance.
Great performance. Went out and got the finish. Fought the way that gets you excited to see him fight
Just
again. which
continues to cement the legacy that he's...
Now he's starting to make an argument.
Yeah.
You know, like I know he's been saying it, and that's good. He should say that. You're the champ. You should think you're the best ever. But
Although
that was a great
he
fight.
won't get it. He's lobbying to get GSP to go back to 70 and fight.
And I get that. GSP's waiting for Conor Khabib, specifically for Conor.
But then again, you got to think of it this way. GSP also likes favorable matchups, and I think that's a favorable matchup.
Well, here's exactly what I think will happen there. It depends on what Conor does. If Conor wins, I think GSP's going to go for that fight.
Yeah, I don't
if
think he
Khabib
wants to
wins,
fight
I think
Khabib.
he's going to go for Tyron Woodley.
Yeah.
So, I don't. What does fighting Khabib do for his legacy?
Nothing.
It really doesn't. I mean, he's well known in the MMA circles, and he'll get famous. He'll get his push for beating Conor, but he's not Tyron Woodley's back at his weight class. If Conor wins, Conor's even more leginery.
For sure.
Right. But then there's Woodley sitting up there claiming he's the best. It's more attractive.
Honestly, Woodley wants to fight Conor.
I'm sure
He
does.
said that on JRE that was like a year
remember
ago.
that.
Obviously,
I don't.
well, that was when he was
They're the same height.
that was when he first got his shoulder surgery. So
they're the same height, but Woodley's a lot bigger.
fucking is. That'd be dangerous, bro.
That'd be
What if
real
Conor
dangerous.
pieced him though? Oh, dude, Conor's a motherfucker though.
We're about to see.
He'd have to legitimately bulk up to 170.
Yeah, he couldn't be this 168 because I ate a bunch of steak during fight week.
like on the way, it's fucking.
Right.
He's like, I
Had
can't see
breakfast
my
this
abs.
morning. Yeah. No, but that would be
dude.
exciting. But I think that's what happens with Tyron Woodley. I think he
Tyron
deserves
Woodley's
that
talking
GSP
about
fight.
going to 85 now, though.
He's a little short, but he's thick. He's big.
Robert Whittaker and him are about the same size, I think.
Wasn't Gastelum's 5'9" too? And I mean, when we met Gastelum, I mean, I'm slightly taller than that dude, and I'm not a big guy at all. I mean, he's thicker.
Gastelum, dude.
Yeah, he did, but I'm saying Gastelum's up at 185
Gastelum's
and had
talking
won some
about
fights
he wants,
too. But
yeah, but he's talking about that he still
ultimately.
wants to go to 70 and fight Woodley.
Gastelum would be better at 70.
Think
Dude, we
so?
stood right next to him. He should not be 185 pounds fighting guys like, what, Luke Rockhold, Chris Weidman?
He's fucking putting it. He's damn sure competing, though.
Well, I'm not saying he can't compete, but I don't
put
think
Weidman
he can
on his
compete
ass.
with the top. Yeah, and then Weidman smothered him and overpowered him with his size. I mean,
Sure. Yeah, but then he put fucking Bisping on his ass. He put fucking Jacare on his ass.
oh, he's super talented, man. But I think the reason
He
that he's
deserves the
putting them
title
on their
shot, for
ass, and 100%, I agree. But I think the reason that he's putting those guys on their ass is, and not KOing them, is because he's a pretty small 185 pounder.
Oh, you hear what else? Just to where this division's going, we got fucking Wonderboy Thompson, Robbie Lawler. That's
Heard
like
about that fight, yeah.
that's like such a strange fight because who like dude.
But I like it though, because
You think Robbie gets like fuck, man? Robbie is like kind of still in the thick of things.
he kind of is, and I love. Who doesn't love some Robbie
Yeah,
Lawler? If
Robbie
you love mixed
Lawler-
martial arts, you
I
love
just
Robbie Lawler.
don't think he wins this fight because he's gonna pressure the shit out of Wonderboy, and Wonderboy's gonna hit him with some kind of spinning kick or something. Because Robbie's just not as fast as he used to be.
No,
dude.
he's lost a step, and he lost a bit of his life.
Yeah,
in
and
the
he's coming
octagon.
off an ACL tear, isn't he?
Yeah, recently.
Yeah, against RDA.
So
That wasn't recently, but it was like about a year ago.
yeah, it's been a minute. It was his last fight, but it's
Yeah.
been some time since, obviously, in recovery, which he needed. It was a-
Of course, yeah. Torn ACL is a tough recovery, dude.
Dude, that fight makes me excited. I think we both agree that it kind of is a little bit dependent on the upcoming, right around the corner fight between Conor and Khabib as to what
Yeah.
Tyron Woodley gets next. And as far as Till, we both agree he should move up to 185.
185 is best for him.
And he shouldn't fight the top. He said he said when he thought he was going to beat Woodley. He said he wanted to fight Covington and then go to 185, but not walk his way to a title shot. He wanted to fight some contenders first, which I admire. I presume he's going to do the same strategy.
I think
having
the
lost.
perfect fight is he gets the winner of Anderson versus Adesanya.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah,
That'd be
be
great.
great. I like that too. That would be good. Well, you know, speaking of these guys in the 170, 185 area, we've got some exciting fights outside of the UFC coming up. With the
Hell
170
fucking yeah.
champion versus the 185 champion over in Bellator, as well as on the same fucking card, we have the welterweight tournament kicking off.
And Aaron Pico.
And Aaron Pico's return, all going down before Conor Khabib. This is like, what, September 29th, I think, right in there?
Yep.
That
And
weekend.
then the weekend after is Fedor Chael.
Yeah, after Conor Khabib, we have Fedor Chael in the heavyweight tournament again because we got
That shit is
exciting
crazy.
fights going on in Bellator, which I
good
love
time
being
to be
able
an
to
MMA
say.
fan right now.
Oh, yeah, it is. Especially when, like, 2 months ago on this show, on some of our first episodes, we were kind of bummed about the state of MMA.
They weren't delivering.
And it's
now they
delivering
really
Bellator.
are.
Scott Coker reviving these tournaments. I'm a fan. I'm loving it.
I just don't like how long they last.
They're stretching them out a bit. I wholeheartedly agree. I don't like that. But
Because now we're talking about, we're not going to have a Bellator heavyweight champion until next year.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be a minute. But the exciting thing with the welterweight tournament, if people don't know, you've got the welterweight champion fighting the middleweight champion, Gegard Mousasi.
Gegard Mousasi's I'll fight anybody, anytime, any weight class.
Right. And win or lose, Rory McDonald, the current welterweight champion, if he loses, his belt is not at stake. He's going to enter that welterweight tournament, and every time he fights, his belt will be at stake.
And he's fighting John Fitchford, who is not a fucking walk in the park.
Right.
He's a seasoned vet,
Very
for sure.
seasoned vet with some killer wrestling.
Oh yeah.
And he could also, at the same time, although his belt won't be at stake, be the
fucking
reigning middleweight
middleweight
champion.
champion.
Imagine this awesomeness. Imagine.
That would be crazy.
That would be so sick. And if he loses in the tournament, and it's in that scenario, he'll keep his middleweight belt if he were to have it, while losing the welterweight.
Yep.
It's just fun times all the way around, man.
Fuck yeah.
I love it.
I'm curious to see what weight he comes in at for this, because not too long ahead he's gonna fight the first round.
He's got to turn right around and get down to 170. And Gegard's pretty big. He's fought at 205, hasn't he?
And you got to think how much damage he ends up taking in this fight. Because how much does that put this welterweight tournament on hold? Or does it open the door for one of the alternates to get in there?
If an alternate came in, could Rory return at a later date, or would he just be done? That's something we should find out. We'll find out as this tournament unfolds what would happen in that scenario.
If Rory were to get injured, or I hope not. Pray to the MMA gods he doesn't.
Absolutely.
But in the case that he breaks his hand or breaks his foot, something that's gonna last, let's say, 6 months, do they put the tournament on hold for 6 months, or do they put one of the alternates in, or do they make the alternates fight?
Reschedule?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Do they reschedule, or do they fill somebody
put another fight into that slot?
Well, no, I'm saying, do they put the alternate in there instead of waiting for him?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I don't know.
That's a strange.
Let's see if there's any information available on that.
Because that's a quick turnaround for Rory. Rory is known to not really give a fuck sometimes and get into some big fights.
He was asking to be an alternate in the heavyweight tournament. Seriously, if you folks hadn't heard.
Yeah. Well, and then look at that Douglas Lima fight. He got battered in that one too, and he's kind of one of those guys who is like has crisp technique, but his defense is sort of lacking. And he has a great chin, but a lot of times he's willing to make people test it. You know what I mean? He a lot of times comes in that like kind of with his hands down, but they're up. You know what I mean? Like his hands are up, but they're not blocked.
He's making a classic. I guess it's not a mistake. You can't say it's a mistake when it's taken him where it has. But like what I was talking about earlier with Jimmy Rivera, like they're not bringing. Like he looked more like a boxer, which is just naturally what I look for. But Rory McDonald doesn't fight like that. Like not at all. This the hands lower, a little bit stiffer, kind of like Conor. But I mean, look at Conor's success. You can't. One of the best strikers in the game.
Yep.
But his movement's on point too. But Rory Gegard, pretty exciting, pretty interesting.
They're very similar fighters.
Yeah. Except Gegard's just a lot bigger. Didn't he fight Mark Hunt? I do believe.
Yeah. Gegard just doesn't give a fuck.
No, he'll fight
like I said, dude, Gegard will fight anybody, any weight class. If he can get there, he'll fucking do it. You know what I mean? Like,
I like that dude.
He's one of those like old school European fighters that just like he fought every event. You know what I mean? Like he's got his official record. I think he only has about like 30 fights, but
he's got over 50.
He's got crazy amount of amateur fights. Amateur, but like you know what I mean.
Absolutely,
it's crazy.
There's some cool stuff going on in Bellator. And I mean, following that up, like you said, we'll have Conor, Khabib, and then right after that, we got Frank Mir, Fedor.
Well, on that same card as well, though, we also have Andre Koreshkov, Douglas Lima, which is the opening of the welterweight opening fight. Of course. Crazy opener.
Oh my god! I think I like Lima in that fight, but it's a toss-up, man.
I think if it goes to decision, Lima wins. But if there's a finish, it's going to be Koreshkov finishing Lima. Because Lima's a drag it out, take you into deep water, and finish you kind of fighder. You know what I mean? He likes to lure you in with the leg kicks, then start to land his big shots later in the rounds, and then he's one of those guys, that just he's not looking for the big shot. He's gonna wear you the fuck out.
Power punches.
Yeah.
Whereas
Koreshkov's a fucking explosive guy, though. You got to be careful. Got to be careful fighting that guy.
I haven't seen him for a minute. Last fight I remember, he beat the shit out of Benson Henderson.
Yeah, he beat the shit.
And then who did he fight after that?
I think he lost to Lima, actually.
Yeah, he might have. I can't remember. It's been a minute.
This is a rematch, I'm pretty sure.
Oh. Well, that's just an exciting start to the welterweight tournament right there, though. That's Ed Ruth coming up. In this tournament.
Neiman Gracie, too.
Neiman Gracie.
They're fighting each other, which is a big fucking fight, dude.
Grappler, wrestler.
And Ed Ruth has got some hands, man. He has
developed some hands.
He's got some fucking bombs.
I like Ruth.
No one's really seen how good Gracie's striking is, though.
No. Well, I think we're going to see some. You know how it is sometimes when these wrestler grapplers fight each other and they both think they got some chops with the strikes, it winds up being a stand-up affair.
Yeah, that's true.
And we could very well see that, which would be real interesting.
Well, it's interesting to see because sometimes wrestling in MMA is different. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how if it goes to the ground, how it's approached. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If it's a situation where Ed Ruth is in the clinch, or like, you know, is honestly, I could see there's just so many different possible scenarios for that fight. It's crazy. I'm always gonna go with Ed Ruth because, you know,
Right, being the wrestler.
but it's going to be a very interesting fight.
I'm going with Ruth in that fight too, and I'm not a wrestler, but I just think skill.
Go with Gegard in the main event as well.
I have a hard time seeing Rory beating Gegard.
Yeah.
Like, he has all the skills, but sometimes it's going to come down to size, and Gegard is talented as hell.
But honestly, what the...
Really
see, this is why sometimes I hate these super fights, because what the fuck does Gegard really gain from winning this fight?
I know, it always looks worse, especially with such a huge disparity in weight.
That's why I'd rather see a catch weight fight for both belts.
Yeah,
that's how I think these super fights should happen.
I do that shit at like 178, 179, something like that. A little bit of give for both sides. I agree wholeheartedly, man. I don't know why they don't do it, because Gegard's I'm supposed to beat you up when you come. I'm 15 pounds class. I'm in a class 15 pounds above you.
Yeah, and there's really not very many fucking contenders in that weight class for Gegard.
And it's not like Rory's some massive welterweight that's cutting huge amounts. You know, he's not built like, you know, some of these more muscular fighters like Woodley or something. You know.
Yeah.
So
who he did beat.
He does have a
like
win
we
over
were saying,
Tyron Woodley.
dude, before. Who has the better welterweight division right now? Bellator or the UFC?
That's a toss-up if you ask me right now. And there used to be no question it was the UFC.
But Bellator has stolen so many
Bellator has come, and they've got some prospects coming up.
They've got some homegrown talent as well, though.
Yeah. Not just in that division, but
Michael
like
Venom Page.
Yeah, MVPs in this tournament.
I mean, the UFC had Paul Daly, but let him go over some stupid shit.
Daly's always got some great stand-up.
Daly's a beast. That's such a fucking great fight.
Absolutely.
There's no date on that one.
I just love the fact that we can sit here and talk about great fights in Bellator and not just be bullshitting. We can legitimately ask who's got the better welterweight division, and we're not just trolling. You know, it's a legit question right now, and that's good. That's good for MMA. That's fucking really good.
Well, then you got Rampage and Wendy Lay
at heavyweight.
Now,
I'm guessing that Rampage is going to come in at 265.
You think he's cutting?
No, maybe.
Do you really?
Maybe
I
think
two. He's possibly cutting. He's gotten big.
I mean, Bellator's currently got Vanderlei listed at 230.
Well, Vanderlei just fought in light heavyweight when he fought Chael.
Right. Rampage is so big, but it's not like he's packing on all this physique. He's just got a big old gut. Yeah. It's like a big old dad bod Rampage.
True.
But he's getting what he wants in a fight with Wandy, because he'll fucking stand a fight.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, who was it? Homeboy, who was a kickboxer. Joe Schilling was trying to get a fight with Rampage, and he ended up taking Vanderlei instead, because he said it would sell better. But that's possibly a next step, would be Joe Schilling versus Rampage.
Is Joe Schilling put on that much weight?
Probably not.
He's just willing to make that jump.
He's probably willing
to. He's a crazy motherfucker.
Because he knows Rampage will stand with him.
Yeah.
He wants somebody.
You don't have to worry about that wrestling. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, that's a fucking fight right there too.
That's interesting.
Bellator's got some interesting fighters, man.
Coker's done a good job.
He's got some great.
The smartest thing he did here.
It's very similar to Strikeforce back in the day, where although Strikeforce never got the notoriety he did because that was kind of before social media and stuff. I think if Strikeforce was an organization today, it would be a lot bigger than what it was, and that's kind of what Bellator is.
Mm-hmm. Bellator would be a lot smaller.
There's serious talent that people are able to see through social media and
yeah, they had Ronda. Yeah. They had Cyborg.
Yep.
I mean,
Tyron Woodley.
They had Woodley.
Daniel Cormier.
They had Cowboy. Or no, Cowboy was WEC.
Yeah,
wasn't
no,
he?
Cowboy was WEC. They had Josh Barnett.
Josh Barnett.
Alistair Overeem.
Yeah, I mean,
they had hella people, dude. It's a hell of a fucking...
DC was over there.
Yeah, fuck DC, though. I'm just kidding.
Dude, his commentating...
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
It was rough. I wish they'd stop with that. But we're stuck with it. Well, we kind of been skipping over a little bit of UFC 229. But, you know, we've talked about Conor, and we're going to talk about Conor and Khabib more, obviously. But what about that fight that was added here recently, which is that T-Ferg versus Anthony Pettis, confirmed as the co-main event? Also a backup, obviously, should one of these two fighters fall out of the main event.
Or not show for a press conference.
Yeah, UFC ain't going to pull him like they did in 200.
Yeah, no way.
That'll never happen again. Conor could skip all these press conferences, and the UFC will be like, damn. And the fight will go on.
He could come out chucking water bottles at everybody, and they will not pull him out.
Yeah. Like, he would have to do something incredible to get pulled.
He could show up with $2 in each hand, 200. And they would be like, hey, man, just
the way Conor is, if they do one of these press conferences, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, he brings, like, all 4 of his belts and rolls it out on a dolly.
I just had a kind of like a stoner idea right now, bro.
What's that?
What if Conor doesn't want to fucking do any more press or anything? Because the last time he tried to do that shit, maybe that was planned by the UFC for him to invade, and he ended up getting arrested off of it.
You know, let's talk about that shit for a minute. Because the way the UFC has jumped all over this,
yeah,
the way that, like, I don't know, it got me wondering the same thing too, because it's just like the perfect storyline, it's the perfect hype,
and they keep you. Dana White is a fucking asshole, bro. Like, you come out and you fucking just lay into Conor saying it's the most disgusting thing you've ever seen.
It's the worst thing
to ever happen in MMA history, and then you fucking use it to promote it. And
they were blasting it out of UFC 228. All 3 of those promos have
exactly.
They literally had one there. This is one that really made me start wondering.
They just started
angle. They have an angle inside the bus.
Yeah.
Of the dolly hitting the inside of the window. What you just? I mean, maybe they did, but you had a camera just right there. I mean, maybe they did. Maybe it came from someone's cell. I don't know, but it sure is convenient.
Hella.
And I could see Conor really cares more about the money. I could see him like, if you're gonna strip me, then we're gonna do some shit to make this like a big
I don't know. I think this fight sells itself, bro.
I don't know. It's fun to talk about that.
That's the only thing I think Dan has ever said that was true. This fight sells itself.
It's fun to get high and talk about some conspiracy like that with the UFC. But you're right. Ultimately, this fight does sell itself.
It kind of makes sense. I know that's some fucking stupid conspiracy bullshit right there, but it does make a little sense. Because what if they were just like, hey, just come over, crash the press conference.
Yeah, and he took it too far.
Yeah,
he got emotional.
And then he ends up getting fucking arrested. He's like,
I could see that. I could see the UFC secretly being like,
"Are you fucking joking me, bro? Are you joking? You're fucking just gonna think I'm gonna come out and do more press for you after last time I got arrested for it?
Right.
Fuck that."
I could definitely see the initial quote unquote invasion at the press conference having UFC approval, UFC tactical knowledge of it, and then Conor overreacting.
Yep.
Yes. That actually makes some kind of sense.
If anyone overreacted, I guess at this point it's Dana White.
When he came out with all his vitriol. That's another thing that almost makes it seem like bullshit, too. Like, he came out so fucking, like...
This is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen! Like, shut the fuck up. It's the most money-making thing you've ever seen. I can't believe... It just makes sense to me, though, because if he put his actual life in jeopardy for them and ends up getting arrested for it, if that was planned.
If so
he's like, no, because if I go to one of these press conferences and some shit goes down, I'm not getting arrested for you fuckers again. I'm not getting my visa taken or some shit because you guys want to fucking promote this fight, which you already know is I'm the biggest star in the world, and people are going to tune in to see me win or lose anyways.
That's my opinion on it right now. Conor put in more work publicity-wise than any fighter before him has, and now he's earned all the publicity. He can't get quote-unquote more.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to get more because he does 3 pressers before this fight. Everybody fucking knows, man. He's earned the right to just train, dude.
Yeah,
You got the name.
We
now.
were looking at Instagram before the podcast today, and we noticed that Khabib turned his comments off of his Instagram.
He did. That was interesting.
Conor's been kind of going after him on Instagram.
Yeah,
lately,
see, he can do this stuff on social media. It takes him
Yeah, it
5
sells
minutes
that
to
shit.
snap a fucking pic, write
Yeah.
up some cheesy shit, fire
Yeah.
it off, and it's getting millions of
Take
likes.
a picture with everyone he trains with every fucking day and post it.
Showing and putting in that work. That's hella
Yep.
easier than flying
Oh, yeah.
into New York City or Las
Yep.
Vegas from fucking Ireland and doing
Yep.
a presser. Those things aren't fun for fighters.
Well, and he's
Maybe in the
fighting
beginning.
someone he legitimate. The same thing when he fought Diaz the second time. He knows he's going in here with a definite lopsided style in one end. You know,
he's fighting somebody he could legitimately get beat by.
Yeah, and Conor, he's one of those guys who's like, I wonder how much he's putting in money into this camp, honestly. Like
Probably
money
quite a
wise,
bit because Conor's got that crazy money now.
yeah.
He's got his entrepreneurial.
I mean,
he's
obviously,
got
it's
his
not as crazy
entrepreneurial
as the
shit going.
Diaz one, where he's like turned it into a documentary and shit like that.
Right.
But I definitely think that he's been studying Khabib for quite some time.
Yeah, I don't think Conor started training for Khabib when this fight camp.
I
quote-unquote,
heard that
started.
Jordan Burroughs was going to train him. Obviously, it ended up being fake.
Right,
But
I
if
heard
Jordan
that.
Burroughs would have trained him, dude, whoo-hoo. I mean, it would have been different because Jordan Burroughs is more of an offensive wrestler. You need more of like a defensive wrestler, like Kyle Snyder, he's like 220. He said he would train Conor too, but obviously Conor didn't bring anybody in.
I assume he's got some high level. I heard he brought in some Olympic wrestler. I don't know the
From
name.
Russia,
It's some, yeah, I was gonna say it's some.
Some Russian dude, right?
I'm pretty certain. I don't know who you like in the Pettis T-Ferg fight. I like Ferguson,
It's a strange fight, I think.
but I wouldn't be shocked if Pettis had a return to his old self and won a decision.
Where does that put Pettis if he wins this fight?
Certainly puts him in the number
Is he
2,
in
maybe
the
number 1
conversation,
spot.
or do
I would say
you think he
so.
beats T-Ferg, he gets the title shot? Is what I'm asking you.
No,
No.
I think when you have guys like Poirier waiting in the background.
Okay, but Poirier loses to Diaz.
I mean, that is possible. I'm not counting Diaz out at all by making that statement there. I'm just saying he's got a better resume at this point. Of course, he could get out and get beat by Diaz.
But then I think Diaz probably gets the title shot
I
if he
think
beats
Diaz,
Poirier.
especially if Conor's the winner. Diaz definitely gets the title shot if Conor beats Khabib. 100%. I think if Khabib beats Conor and Diaz beats Poirier, they're not making... Diaz doesn't want any part of Khabib. You think Diaz wants to go fight a pure wrestler? Are you kidding me?
So let's say
No.
Pettis. I'd say Pettis gets the loser, unless Conor retires.
You wouldn't think if Diaz lost and Conor lost, they'd go ahead and
They'd
make
fight,
Diaz
yeah.
3. Yeah, I think that's...
Well, we're talking a scenario where, but I don't think. I'm sorry, but I don't think Pettis is beating Diaz.
I don't think... You mean he's beating Ferguson?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I meant
I don't think he's beating Ferguson.
Poirier.
either.
Poirier, there's no way he's losing. He's beating Diaz either though. And I think if Pettis beats Tony Ferguson, all right, let's put it this way: if Poirier beats Diaz and Pettis beats Ferguson, I don't see how Pettis doesn't deserve a title shot because Pettis is just a better sell. Honestly,
He's a better sell. He's still got the
former
name.
champion.
And he
He's
could
on-
resurrect
he was on
that
the
name.
Wheaties, you know. Like he was like, it would be like the former UFC star versus the UFC star. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if there's a story there. I just don't think Poirier rematch is any kind of story that.
Not if Conor's
if
champ,
Conor's
'cause Conor
champion,
beat him
it's
so
like
soundly.
fuck, dude. He just beat the shit out of you.
And he didn't even get credit. I knew back then Poirier. I'm sure you did too. It's not
Yeah.
any hardcore MMA fan knew that Poirier was a fucking talent back then.
Oh,
And when
yeah.
Conor beat him,
He was
people
up
tried
and
to say it was no big deal. Like, nah, that was
He beat his ass.
like Poirier's no joke, man. That dude
That
was
shot
legit,
Conor
as he's
into
obviously
into
gone on
that
to prove.
mix.
Yeah.
Poirier is one of those guys, though.
Let's talk about that for a second because I want to clear something up. Like, not with you, but with... There's this misconception that Conor McGregor got his title shot off beating Dennis Seaver. While it's true that his last fight before the title shot was Dennis Seaver, the UFC offered him the title shot after he KO'd the number 4 guy at the time, which was fucking Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
And then there was another fight scheduled, though. He had to wait.
There was a contingency, though, with the Dennis Seaver.
Well, Conor didn't want to wait.
Yeah.
It was like a 9-month wait, and he was like, I want to have a fight in between there. Who's the next highest-ranked person I can fight that's not booked, and I'll fight him while I'm waiting for the title shot. And so Dennis Seaver came in.
Yep.
But he was getting... I mean, he obviously wouldn't have got it if he'd have lost, but he already won the title shot. He didn't get the title shot.
He was not worried about losing to Dennis
Right. But people, like the haters, try to say, like, oh, the UFC gifted him a title shot for beating Dennis Seaver. No, that's not what happened.
Well, and then when you really look at
he asked for another fight in the meanwhile.
You can shoot that down as well, because then even if you look at the interim title fight that he had, that was technically, I guess, as a number 1 contender's fight against Chad Mendes, who was legitimately the number 1 contender at that time. He beat him, so that completely defeats the argument.
That bullshit argument too.
Yeah,
but that's what Conor haters just have. No logic behind there.
Although it was short notice, I understand that, but Chad Mendes is still one of the best fighters.
Well, absolutely, and not only did Conor beat him, and this never came out except you watched the documentary. Conor had severe knee injuries going into that fight, and never once brought it up. Man, he's had
two knee injuries in his career. It's like it's not concerning, but at the same time, it's like. That's what, I just keep the ball is just continuing to roll with the idea that he's possibly going to retire soon.
No, I agree.
I just don't see him hanging around that long.
I don't think
because how do you get any bigger than he's already gotten?
That's the thing, yeah. How do you build on that legacy? I mean, there's this fight, maybe 1 or 2 after.
Like we always talk about, it's so hard to go out on a win. When you're a guy like Conor, you need to go out on a win. Mm-hmm. So I think win or lose, possibly a month from now, Conor McGregor could retire.
You don't think he goes for that Diaz fight if he loses? Because that's a big payday.
I think it's possible that he does this. I think he retires that night, and then Diaz wins and calls him out, and it makes it even bigger because it's like, after he went into retirement and comes out of retirement.
There's got to be the story.
There's more juicy story with this Diaz and McGregor shit. And to be the 3rd fight, and then I think after that, win or lose, he's gone.
Well, I think a lot of what we're saying is ultimately a moot point because Conor is going to beat Khabib.
He fucking better. If he loses, though, where do you go? That's why I think he retires if he loses it. Because what makes sense anymore? What, are you going to fight Floyd again?
Well, he doesn't like to lose, though. Conor hates to lose. That's the one thing where I would say that maybe he doesn't retire, because look what he did when Diaz beat him. He demanded that fucking rematch. Yeah,
but if it's like we've talked about, this fight is going to be a fight of extremes in one direction or the other.
Yeah.
It's going to be a starch knockout from Conor, or it's going to be Khabib takes him down and beats him up. If Khabib takes him down and beats him up for 5 rounds, dude, there's no way he's going to be chomping at the bit for a rematch. No fucking
Yeah, I'd agree.
way.
I think the only fight that would interest him after that's the Diaz trilogy. And maybe not even that.
I don't think so either, though. Because
another thing, we're talking about Conor, and Conor loves money, right? And it's finally come out what he made in New York.
It ruins the brand if he... It's too risky of a fight to fight Diaz a 3rd time, honestly.
No, it is real risky, yeah. And I could see why he'd avoid it because of that.
Because
it's brand implications.
The brand is there.
And the brand needs to live on after fighting.
Yep. He was the first UFC double champ. A lot of people are like thinking, honestly, if he beats Khabib, he's in the GOAT conversation.
If he beats Khabib, no one can say shit.
Yeah.
You can dislike him. You can not like him all you want, but you can't deny his fighting skills any longer.
You know what? He changed kind of the landscape for fighting for champions. Nobody wanted the double champ anymore. Like, that was never something people were talking.
Conor did it.
Conor's like, I want 2 of those motherfucking belts. And like,
Conor
since then, everyone after, although I think Cejudo could honestly get that double champ fight against TJ. Like you were saying that he doesn't deserve it, but he's honestly beat a lot of people in that division. And
he has. I think you got to defend
he
that
gets
belt at least once.
I get that, but people wouldn't do that before, you know.
No, it wasn't a thing.
It wasn't a thing at all.
I mean, you had BJ Penn, GSP, which was like, and it was so legendary because that wasn't a thing.
Wasn't a thing. Yeah. It's a strange. It changed how people like present themselves as well.
You think Tyron Woodley has a show on TMZ if Conor McGregor doesn't burst onto the scene and rewrite how a fighter promotes himself? I don't think so. Because he started those champ camps, which was similar to McGregor. Kind of led the way, I think, with the YouTube videos and the Mac Life channel.
Yeah.
And the self-documentary that suddenly a lot of other fighters
smartly
jumped on.
He was almost like the UFC's experiment, dude.
It's a smart thing.
It was crazy. He was almost like an experiment. Like the UFC just like kind of handed everything to him to kind of see where to go with it.
But he was a guy who could take it somewhere, though.
That's
what was
for
key.
sure.
They did hand him the microphone, so to speak, but that motherfucker knew what to say.
Yeah, definitely.
They gave him that stage and platform, and he rose up. He could have flopped.
Oh yeah, for sure. He performed when the lights were on.
And now he's got that legacy. He's got that brand. So if he beats Khabib, he could ride off into the sunset too. Because why do you keep risking that legend? Legend. You know how much whiskey you sell with that legend? How many of them David August suits or whoever it is? All that pimp shit, man.
Someone's always got to go.
Oh my God! Did you hear the talk about the Floyd rematch?
Yeah.
I sadly could see that happen because what if it did like a third of what it did before? That's still
still so much.
It's still like so he didn't make $100 million. He only made $30 million.
But then I don't know. People might watch it more though because people are like, dude,
he's had a year.
He's had a year to fucking train.
It's not his first fight.
It's not his first fight, and he fucking took him the first 3 rounds.
Floyd's older.
Dude, I mean, I hate to say it, but Conor will never beat him in a boxing match.
No, not in a boxing match.
But in MMA. Floyd's fucked.
But I think ultimately the Conor can hang with Floyd much longer in boxing than Floyd could hang with Conor.
Oh yeah, MMA. For sure.
But that's not a diss against Floyd.
Just based off
style
kicking.
Thing. It's just based off the 2 different fight styles. It's not.
If Floyd was a kickboxer, it'd be a different game.
Yeah. That's good shit, man. We got so many exciting fights coming up. I'm loving that shit.
Yeah.
And I think that about wraps up a pretty groovy show we had today, man.
Yep.
I think we should smoke some more weed, though. We got some great shows coming up in the future.
Yeah, big news coming soon.
Yeah, big news coming soon. Big fights we're going to keep talking about. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you're listening on iTunes, please subscribe. Give us a rating. We'd appreciate it. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button.
Yep.
You can go to SWATMMA.com to find all the links. You can check us out on Instagram, etc.
Hell yeah.
Peace, everybody.
Do all that shit. Follow us on Instagram.